Natia Seskuria is an Associate Fellow at the Royal United Services Institute. She joins me live on the line from Stockholm. Welcome, Natia. I don't know how much you managed to catch of this story, which has only just broken, about Russia announcing it's going to deploy tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus from July. What's your response to that? How concerning is it?
Thank you very much for having me. Of course, it's concerning, and we have seen many times how Russia has been able and was trying to blackmail Europe and entire collective West in terms of speculating about the potential use of nuclear weapons. Now it's a very important moment in this war in terms of the expected Ukrainian counteroffensive, which might be already underway. So in that sense, of course, Russia needs to further use its nuclear card. And in that sense, there are not many options left for Russia in terms of how much leverage it has. As we saw, the Russian offensive has not been as successful as they planned. So now all eyes are on Ukraine. And I think this sort of move from President Putin was much expected in that sense to make sure that the stakes are very high from Russian side as well, and to put more pressure on the West.
Does that drag Belarus more into this conflict? Does the West now need to look at to what extent it needs to be sanctioning Belarus and its leader?
Well, Belarus has already been dragged in this conflict in many ways, in a sense that President Lukashenko does not really have much options because his dependency on President Putin and on Russia is huge. So in that sense, of course, it is very important to place extra measures on Belarus because its territory is being used against Ukraine, against attacking Ukraine. And in that sense, of course, Belarus shares a lot of responsibilities there.
When this whole conflict started, people thought it might be over in a few months. We're more than a year in now, and it looks, if anything, it looks to be escalating. Ukraine's now starting, it seems, its counteroffensive, which could be a very long, drawn-out affair, according to experts. How on earth do you see an end to this?
Well, it's very hard, unfortunately, to discuss how this and when this might end. I certainly hope that the end will be the Ukrainian victory. But now I think it's very early to discuss any kind of ending scenarios because Ukraine has a very ambitious plan that it has been preparing for months. And it has taken some time to make sure that the troops were trained enough by Western forces and the Kiev received advanced military equipment from Western allies, and now we see the first signs of this counteroffensive. And I think it will be very important. The way this will continue and this will lead will be very important in a sense that it has both military and political implications. And political implications is extremely important in the sense that now the Western allies are looking at Ukraine and they will measure the counteroffensive through their own eyes, and further military aid for Ukraine, I think, will be dependent on how successful Ukraine will be on the battlefield against Russia.
Tactically, it doesn't seem realistic to say that, okay, Ukraine's just going to push all Russian forces out of the country all at once. Realistically, what will it need to achieve first off in this offensive? Is it going to be to split the Russian forces, to somehow isolate Crimea? What do you think would be a pivotal achievement?
Well, now what we see is that Ukrainian forces seem to be probing Russian positions at several locations along the front line to find the weaknesses. We already saw the first signs when Kiev has used the German-made Leopard 2 tanks into the battlefield, and the main emphasis has been on the Zaporizhia region, where Ukraine's military has launched attacks on Russian troops in Zaporizhia. It seems like the focus of the first focus of the counteroffensive will be on this region, and Ukraine seems to look to break through Russia's land bridge connecting Russia with Ukraine, Zaporizhia and Kherson regions. So I think this counteroffensive will not be a quick one. We will see how it will evolve, and I think Ukrainian forces now have the psychological advantage as well to continue their efforts to liberate the country. But of course, there is a long way until Ukraine is able to achieve its aims.
Natia, appreciate your time. My guest is Natia Seskuria, Associate Fellow at the Royal United Services Institute.
Thank you for having me.